Now we do have Comrade Issa Aremu here with us. He's the Vice President, Industrial Global Union, and also Secretary General of Textile Union. Okay, so thank you for joining us this morning. You did come back recently as well from South Africa. What was your reading of how this is playing out?
Well, thank you, Chambale. I think, as you said, I came in yesterday from Durban, where I attended the Congress of the National Union of Mine Workers, which is the biggest private sector union in South Africa. It's an affiliate of Industrial Global Union, of which I'm the vice president. I think this is not the best of time for the continent. The narrative we're having now is extremely very sad, very tragic. And the stories coming from the biggest countries, the two biggest countries on the continent. I mean, don't forget that Nigeria is the biggest economy, followed by South Africa. And at the time that the continent was excited about African Continental Trade Agreement, at the time we are talking of African Renaissance, you know, for us to be counting dead bodies on account of unacceptable xenophobic attacks.
Do they do they see it as unacceptable?
Oh, yeah, I mean...
in terms of their response now?
Yeah, Chambale, I think even at this hour, I think we should be able to acknowledge that there are sizable progressive section of South Africans who are embarrassed. First, I've told you...
But the lawyer just said they seem to be silent. They're not saying anything.
No, a good number of... I mean, I told you I just came from the conference of National Union of
Has
Mine
anybody
Workers.
released a statement?
Oh,
the
president of the union, Comrade Joseph, David Sopunzi.
Did you address
In fact,
anybody?
they addressed their workers and this is not African. This is unacceptable. And they are even planning of having matches, you know, against xenophobia.
One of the narratives that have been pushed...
Let me land, you know, and don't also forget that COSATU, which is the Council of Trade Union Congress, you know, just like Nigeria Labour Congress, had come forcefully against the xenophobic attack. Because, wait a bit, it's almost 10 years now that we're in this madness. It started first 2008 and 2015, almost serially. I was just looking at the numbers now. It's a complete tragedy that Nigerians, you know, we've lost close to almost 200 citizens, you know, due to xenophobic attack. Don't forget it was initially Zimbabweans, 2015. Many of them were key Mozambicans, you know. And
you say this is unacceptable over there?
No, I'm saying so because, wait, everybody's counting the losses, and South Africa is the worst for it now. I mean, you have World Economic Forum taking place. Madagascar has just pulled out. Mozambique pulled out. Rwanda is not going. Nigeria is not going. I mean, I think they are counting their losses.
Some pull out from football matches.
Yeah. So what I'm saying here is that these are all reflections of the impact of xenophobic attack. So what I'm saying here is that I think the challenge now is how for us to mitigate this crisis and get out of it.
Okay, so you have met with workers
yes.
in South Africa, and one of the sentiments that have been pushed is that foreigners, other African nationals, are taking the jobs of South Africans. They're taking their health insurance and all. So you've interacted with the workers there. Are they saying the same thing too?
No, you see, first, I think, again, I think we have crisis of leadership, you know, in South Africa now. I'm saying so because Nelson Mandela, you know, one of the greatest virtue of Nelson Mandela is to accept there is a problem. He names it, and then he you know, tames it when he was alive. I'll give the example of attitude of Nelson Mandela to HIV. You know, initially, you know, there's lots of deniers. In fact, Becky did a lot of academic analysis, but Nelson Mandela was the first to say, no, HIV was real. He even lost his own son due to HIV. I think we need that kind of leadership now in South Africa to say xenophobia is unacceptable and we should damn it. I just listened to Cyril Ramaphosa, and I mean, he has just addressed the nation. He came so late, you know, almost about 4 days after this thing happened. That's not what Nelson Mandela would have done. You know, but better late than never. And I also listened to him very well when he was selective in a number of countries, you know, rather even acknowledging Nigeria, you know, that we have lost so much.
Did you
and
listen
that we
to his comments before now, during the elections while he was campaigning?
Yeah, so I'm saying there is crisis of leadership in South Africa. I mean, King Zulu, you know, it's one of those people who took the crisis. The mayor of Joburg some of the comments he also made about this point that foreigners, drug pushers, I mean, they are not helpful.
Which is why I'm asking that, are the workers also sharing that
now,
sentiment?
to answer your question, I think the workers were opposed to this idea.
So they don't believe that Nigerians
in fact, they are opposed to it. They also have their frustration even with their government. I mean, for instance, when I was there at the NUM conference, the complaint was that the mayor of Joburg was not there. They were expecting Cyril Ramaphosa to also... He came from that union. He wasn't there. So there's also crisis of governance in which the politicians want to play cheaper rather than accepting their shortcomings. They want to blame a foreigner. And I told them, and I said, wait, we are embarrassed because the oldest political party in Africa is ANC, formed 1912, and it was known as African National Congress, not South Africa. It was supposed to be parties for all Africans, those who live and work in South Africa. How can we say ANC in power today are the ones defining Africans as foreigners? It's completely unacceptable. And I think the past resolution, organized labor have done so. And the point I'm raising here is that it's important now to address the source of this problem. And let me give you one example. The apartheid mindset is still very, very ingrained. The notion that Africans you cannot make it, you envy them. I think we have
Is that an apartheid mindset?
No, it is.
I thought it was Africans. They played a huge role as frontline states.
No, listen to me. I'm saying the apartheid ideology was to demonize Africans. Am I communicating?
Oh, by
whites? They oppressed the blacks in South Africa, and many of them still have this savage mentality. So when they see some Africans who are enterprising, who are making it, there's a lot of resentment which comes from it. I think we have to decolonize the mind of many Africans, South Africans, educate them. We must also educate our citizens. Okay. Because there is an assumption that the world is there in which you can go and walk and, at times not obey the rules that are going on here. I mean, the attack on Nigeria is not just in South Africa. You should know very well. We have to make crisis in Ghana.
Not encouraging anyone to take laws into their hands.
Yeah.
The same way Nigerians don't take laws and shouldn't take laws into
their hands. So, Chambali, what I'm saying is that it's about rule of law. It's about governance. You can't say that some Nigerians are engaging in drugs.
The chairman
you should punish them. You should apprehend them. But that cannot be the basis to, criminalize all Nigerians.
The chairman of APC recently thinks that we should nationalize some of these companies. Is a man you know very well as your comradeship. Yeah. What do you think of that?
No, I'm very sure for Comrade Adams to say this, that tells you the fact that for those of us who are friends of South Africans, the cup of South Africa is full in terms of complacency. I mean, for him to have said this, I know a lot of pain because don't forget that when he was the president of NSC, we formed what we call bilateral committee together with the South African trade union movement. We fought for liberation of South Africa. Don't also forget that we are the one called for nationalization of Shell BP. Nigeria did that one to put pressure, to impose sanction on apartheid South Africa. So for him to have said that, I think that gives correct signal to South Africa that Nigeria is getting pissed off. But I want to say further that the narrative I'm even looking forward to is to be more proactive. This diplomatic activism we have now ought to have been done before. Don't forget, we've been in this business for almost 10 years.
Does that mean
we have South African,
Nigeria... Does that mean that we haven't been doing...
no, we should have been more proactive. Wait, we have South Africa and Nigeria, by commission. We should have been active to discuss this. We should be discussing about investment, we should be discussing about trade. We also have peer review mechanism within the NEPAD. Those are the things that we need to be discussing. Right. So what I'm saying here is that ANC, what do you call it? The chairman of the APC, Comrade Oshiomhole, had made very good point. But beyond that, there's nothing for us to really celebrate in this diplomatic exchanges. All we need to celebrate more is to be proactive, to put this problem behind us, and I hope the point has been made to South African government, they need to sit up. Otherwise, they are going to be in trouble. Don't also forget that they have their internal crisis. Some people even talk of conspiracy story of third force who want to do black and black violence that Africans cannot rule. ANC is also split. They have their own crisis. Yeah, you can see that the way Cyril Ramaphosa is speaking, he has not esteemed. I mean, for this crisis to come immediately after the elections, that tells you there are a lot of problems internally. But what I'm saying here is that I would prefer Nigeria to play that leadership role. We fought for liberation of South Africa.
Okay.
We have to help them to get out of this crisis of governance. And to do so means that we must put development agenda on the table.
All right.
On the
Still speaking
continent.
on this matter, we have Mr. Tunde.
Unemployment crisis.
We'll
Okay,
come
back
to this.
that. Yeah, that's
We'll
fine.
have Tunde Arugumati. He's Executive Director, African Incentive Partnerships. They have the Sustainable Development and Investment Advisory. He joins us via Skype. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Give us your impression about this. This comment, this call by the chairman of the APC about nationalizing some of the concerns, business concerns of South Africa. What do you think of it?
Well, I think Comrade Aremu had said the case here, said the ball rolling. Because the truth of the matter is that the core problem, is a problem of governance out of Africa, out of South Africa. The ANC is facing a lot of problems with its people, and the most vulnerable sector has been this so-called foreign invaders. Now, talking about nationalizing investment, it's a good strategy actually to go all out to show that, to try to give the impression that we have zero tolerance xenophobic attacks. And like Comrade Aremu rightly said, it's something that should have occurred a while ago. But having said that, well, I think the time now is for us to take advantage, like you rightly also alluded to, of bilateral, multilateral relations. Like, for instance, we have the free trade agreement we just all signed. The Africa should be integrating, not disintegrating. And also, but going to the specific issue of nationalizing, we also should bear at the back of our minds that we have had an experience in this regard earlier with the BP nationalization in times of General President Obasanjo, and we know what came out of it. And like has also been said, we really should look at this as the next steps should be for us to kind of ameliorate the situation, not make it even more divisive. So having said that, I think the way to go about it is to also look into already existing bilateral organizations like this. For instance, I wonder what the Nigeria-South Africa Chamber of Commerce is saying about this. I wonder what if they've spoken to, and also another area we have neglected over time is bilateral cultural exchanges, relationships in which we try to understand, because sometimes it takes an element of enlightenment, education, like Comrade Aremu has also alluded to get people to understand each other, one another, and then to understand that the essence of living together, especially under the context of Nigeria, having helped South Africa out of apartheid, we have always been brothers. I don't know where this came from, but like has also been rightly said, the issue has political, diplomatic concern. Actually, I believe that the Foreign Affairs Ministry should be given a very strong lead in this. I see that, for instance, we've sent the Nigeria Intelligence Agency DG out to South Africa. Yes, he's an ambassador, and I do not in any way disrespect his credentials, but this is a foreign affairs thing. It should be led by foreign affairs, and then all the other, complementary agencies can then add to the thrust of taking things out. But in terms of nationalization, I think that would be the tail end of any kind of strategy in taking this forward, because I think the sooner we nip it in the bud and take it from here. Unfortunately, we've lost over 200 lives. We shouldn't have happened in the first instance. But past 5 years, we have not necessarily done the right thing. But then, better late than never. I think it's the time to go. But looking at economic approaches, we have to be careful and more optimize already existing platforms and, really go all out to ballistic in the question.
So speaking about this, if you say it should be at the tail end, because there are those who think, well, should it be an option more so in context and consideration of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, doing business in Africa and ensuring that Africans pull together and ensure that that agreement works. So if this is part of the options, isn't that going to throw spanner in the works of our overall economic development as a continent?
Well, it's saying that it should be a last option. I do not want to sound too, the thing is, it shouldn't really get to that. That's the issue. But then we should also have at the back of our mind that escalation of this situation or row, if you want, should not be allowed. And the sooner things are done properly, the better. So I do not think it should get to that at all. That's why I said it's the last. And then when you talk about last options, like worst case scenario, we're not going to get worst case scenario because I think we all collectively have more common sense and ability to resolve this issue. Look at the days of Joe Gaba in those days. Representative, he was the key man that was being sent around to sort out things like we have loads of stuff, apartheid, when was now. So we need versatile people like that, but it should be at the arrowhead or behind everything to the foreign affairs. And I think, in my opinion, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema has been put too much. That's my personal opinion. That has been put too much in the background, and he should be allowed to come out with his strategy and follow it in line with the presidency to sort this out. And I believe that he has confidence.
All right, now, essentially at the root of this is perhaps, the economic situation of the country. Some people say, I mean, why would Nigerians need to even travel to South Africa if things are working as they ought to in Nigeria? And we understand that this issue of nationalization, indigenization is essentially to spread wealth, among the people. So if you're saying this should be at the tail end, how else can we approach this issue of spreading wealth and ensuring that, Nigeria's economy booms as it ought to?
Thank God you mentioned that it's a Nigerian situation. Nigeria should get its act together from within. We're talking about South Africa as well. It's not as if I don't want to get into a slugfest, so to speak. But Nigeria should get its own act together because first and foremost, one of the problems we've had is that the perception of Nigeria outside is that we do not value life. Now, if you do not value your own lives, come on. A lot of people haven't said most of these things are hypocritical, but then from our end, we should now say enough is enough. How, for instance, have we secured ourselves? Charity, they say, begins at home. I believe security also begins at home. So we need to face our security problems. We need to face our economic problems from within, spreading Rhodesia, sorry, excuse my language, Zimbabwe, for instance, try to nationalize things, see where they are. Even South Africa wanted to do, even Mr. Malema, who is very radical, had to quell his EFF group. That look, do not let's mess with us, which is one of the problems, which is one of the balancing acts that is leading to this. South Africa knows that they cannot mess with their economy. We shouldn't mess with our economy. We should get the foundations of our economy right. We should try and get our economy running like a proper economy. We should put everything in place. So it is the onus is on us to get our economy in proper working order, and then so the way to create wealth is to not just empower people, to enable people to make wealth from whatever their areas of competence are.
Now,
for instance,
pardon me, when you say the perception out there is that Nigerians do not value life, I'm really concerned there. Is that our own problem or the problem of perception there? I mean, that is certainly not the case.
Okay, for instance, sorry, if for instance you lose 50 lives in one swell soup, your press, yeah, what is there any outrage? Is there any outrage? Is there any look, one person, if this had happened to one American 5 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are today. But having said that, that is not the issue. We must move ahead. It's not lazy, but here I'm being very diplomatic here because I don't want this to go into like a political thing. I believe I support our government. Our government is capable of doing stuff if it gets its act together. And that is why we should support in every way. But the truth of the matter is that we need to get our act together. We lose 50 lives. Say 50 lives are lost in Yobe yesterday. What happens? Everybody, and you see down here in the South especially, we are so complacent. It's almost pathetic. So I want us to face the facts here. Let's get our security right, for instance. Let's get our power right. What's the big deal about power?
Let's bring it back here.
All right. You listen to him. What are we missing in terms of developments that's making people run away from home, so to speak?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to talk only for us. for Nigeria, I've told you, you know my profile. I'm vice president of Industrial Global Union.
Charity begins at
no,
home.
yeah,
Comrade.
I agree, absolutely.
Comrade, charity
no,
begins at
everything,
home.
everything is even
you're
local.
not
But can I put it
Zimbabwe.
this way? The real charity I'm talking of is to look at our continent as our home. Interestingly, in spite of the conflict we have in now,
Nigeria is the
no,
biggest.
can I let me land now?
No, we're
you
talking
allow
about
me
Nigeria. Sir.
Yeah.
Nigeria is the
I'm talking
biggest
about
economy
Nigeria. Let me
in
land
the-
now.
Yes, but
Yeah.
you're talking about Africa. What are we missing
No,
that's
let
making
me
Nigerians...
let me land. I want to
Okay.
put it this way to
Okay.
say that in spite of the diplomatic roles we are having,
Yeah.
there are a lot of similarity between Nigeria and South Africa.
In terms of?
Both world statistics and the best statistics. First, the best, biggest economies, $430 billion GDP, the biggest Nigeria, followed by South Africa, $350 billion. But you also know the unemployment rate is almost equal. Officially, it's about 30% in South Africa. Youth unemployment, both Nigeria and South Africa, is close to almost 50%. So, but let me land now.
What is 50%?
Back to, no, I'm taking official.
Where?
Youth unemployment.
In Nigeria?
Yeah, in Nigeria.
But the
No,
30%
I
you
don't
mentioned
think
for
so.
South Africa, is it youth unemployment or just the
no,
unemployment figure?
national average employment. was
But for
about
Nigeria, it's
No,
23.
Yeah, it's not 50%.
Yeah, no, I'm talking of youth unemployment. It's different from national
Yeah,
unemployment
youth unemployment
rate.
in Nigeria is
Wait,
not 50%.
can I give you the example?
Please do.
Nigeria Immigration Service called for placement for 1,000 applicants. You remember 2012 or so. See the number that turned up, about 150,000. That gives you roughly the crisis of unemployment. Both official statistics and non-official shows that we have serious youth unemployment crisis here. But what I'm saying is sad because there was once in Nigeria in which we had full employment. South Africans, when they were under operation, they came here, they worked here. Ghanaians work here. Am I communicating? Many other Africans work here because industries were working. So what I'm saying here is, back to your question, is that Nigeria should be investment employment destination. I saw many of our boys in South Africa and I was shocked when I saw, what the hell are you doing here? They say, you know, and they were trapped. They even discovered that home was better. You know,
How do you mean they were trapped?
So, no, what I mean is that, wait, they are doing menial job, barbing salon, many of them are trading, and of course, some of the
You think
illicit
the
jobs are doing.
airlines,
So what I'm saying,
would they join the airline back home?
can I put it this way? What I'm trying to say here is that we should put development agenda on the table to create jobs for all of us. In fact, interestingly, both South Africa and Nigeria, it's also, the two of them are the most unequal economies on the continent. Few rich people, massive people living below poverty line. So what I'm saying here is that that's back to the where I started.
But people want to hear you talk about Nigeria.
I want to say back to Nigeria. I think we need an engagement. Am I communicating? Between the two countries to put development on the agenda.
Well,
There's nothing.
what is Nigeria missing?
No,
That's the question.
what Nigeria is missing now is that we must bring back the industries. He is just talking of electricity. You can't do industrialization without electrification. I listened to Betty yesterday. When you ask her a question that Nigeria has put a plane to bring those who want to return home. Then she said, I doubt whether some of them will come because they are not sure whether they have electricity at home. But you can't drive industry without electrification.
Some do have uninterrupted. I know. What's just in Lagos?
So I want to. What
here.
I'm saying here is that
We need to see the good parts too of this
yeah,
country. We have a lot of
absolutely.
good
We are
parts.
making some progress now to bring back development to the table, but we should do more in a way that Nigerians should be at home to work. We can even employ more other Africans, and industries have to come back. Manufacturing by value added is still very low in this country, less than 5% compared to South Africa, about 25%, and that's what is now pulling many youth to go there.
You started in Nigeria, you thrived, and now you are where you are. So Nigeria works.
Wait, you are not. Let's converse.
I want you to speak as a
What
Nigerian.
I'm saying, let me put it this way. Now we are back to solution. I think the media should play up some of those positive aspects that are working for all of us. The media report is that life is bad in Nigeria and it's better in South Africa. Many of them, when they get there, they get trapped. No, I'm talking when I talk in general, even South Africans. The media report of Nigeria is that we're criminals, we're drug pushers, and the rest of that's completely wrong. We need to play up the positive aspect. Then we should encourage people-to-people contact. That's what took me there. For instance, I want to give you an example. In my union, we brought some South African trade union organizers to work in Nigeria. for 6 months. We also took some of our people to go to South Africa, and you will be shocked the way we engage, we added value, and then the image of Nigeria has changed.
We can understand,
So
comrade.
I also want to
He's
say,
the vice president of Industrial Global
yes,
Union, so
because
he needs
he
to.
understands
so
why.
what I'm saying,
perspective.
what I'm saying
So-
in summary is that we should not
What-
replace xenophobia with another round of xenophobic populism.
All
That
right.
will not help us.
Comrade,
I think what we need to
we
do
appreciate your coming
is
on.
to help South
You're
Africa have
also
a crisis of confidence to know
General
that they're
Secretary
Africans
of
and not
Textile
Africans
Union
want
in
to work
Nigeria.
anywhere they want to work.
And then we also
And
did
then-
have
and that would be the best way to go.
we also did have Mr. Tunde Arugomati, who is a development economist. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming.